You know, I think one of the things that's so important for politicians is for folks to believe what they're saying and that they're keeping their campaign promises. So I think this gives you a pretty gosh darn good idea of what may be going on. Trump's doing what he promised to do. You go back to April of 2017, it was just 46% of all Americans who said that Trump was doing what he promised to do. Compare that now to February of 2025. You know, there was a good show that was on during the 1990s called A Different World. That is what's going on right now. We're living in a different world. 70% of Americans say Trump is doing what he promised to do. Again, compare that to April of 2017 when it's just 46%. When Americans are 24 points more likely to say that you're doing what you promised to do, it's no wonder that your net approval rating is much more likely to be on the positive side of the ledger than on the negative side. And so far, what we're seeing, again, is Americans, 21 days so far, versus just 11 days during his entire first term, that Trump has a positive net approval rating.
Isn't that the point of running for office and getting elected, is to make promises and actually keep them? It's kind of astounding that we've gotten away from that so far in American politics, where so many politicians will say whatever they can say on the campaign trail just to get elected, to do the exact opposite. I believe the phrase was flip-flop Kamala, if you remember, when she was willing to flip on quite literally any stance, if that meant a bump in the votes with the American people. Let's also bring in Kevin Posobiec and, of course, a favorite, Rasmussen Reports, Mark Mitchell. Mark, thanks so much for joining us.
What a wild time. What a wild time. Happy to be here.
Hey, Mark.
Your reaction to 70%, 7 in 10 Americans agreeing Trump is keeping his promises.
There's just so much I can say. I think about the fourth turning often, about what the future of America holds for my kids. And I thought it might be World War III with Russia or China. And it turns out we're at the end of the fourth turning now, and it's World War III with our own government, who's been using influence and power to gaslight us and pit us against each other just so they could plunder the treasury like the fall of the Roman Empire. And it is being reversed. I don't think we've come to terms at all with how far this den of snakes goes. The hidden story here is that Harry Enton, who was not allowed to give this kind of good news on CNN prior to the election, now it seems like he's just free and happy because he's allowed to tell the truth, was quoting a CBS News poll. CBS, before the election, was polling 6 points to the right of Rasmussen Reports. And now in that very same poll, they give Trump a 53% approval rating, the exact same as we have today. So the hidden story is everybody was shilling for Democrats, was shilling for this power machine, was enabling this plunder, was stealing the future of my children. When you ask a politician, like, how are we going to cut the debt? They always wind up going to entitlement reform. And that means my children are not going to get Social Security. We don't know how much Social Security is going to fake people. We don't know how much is going down to people like in the cartels based on false repeated Social Security numbers. This is getting wild. I was looking at Google Trends last night. It's my second favorite tool behind polling. And believe it or not, Google searches in Washington, D.C. for the term criminal defense attorney are higher, 3 times higher than the next highest state in the United States. So we have, I mean, this is just we're going to see more and more, and it's wild. I have no idea where the Overton window is going to wind up and whether or not we're on the precipice. We might save the country this year. It's wild. I think people fighting this, it's so transparent. It's so transparent what they did. So they were still very effective at controlling the dominant narrative up until literally the election day. There were stories they were dropping a week before the election that were all over the place, like the guy telling the joke about Puerto Rico and about the Liz Cheney thing. But all of a sudden after the election, the core left tuned out of their propaganda machines and has gone into like echo chambers. And where they're at is it's kind of like the Kubler-Ross cycles of grief. You know, they went through shock and denial, and now they're in like, they're trying to gin up like anger and defensiveness, and they're trying to jumpstart a rebellion. So you look at Reddit, and there was a lot of like violent calls to violence that are being suppressed now. Blue Sky, those people are like inconsolable. And I don't think you really see much in the way of any politician sticking their neck out of the line like they had to beg Chuck Schumer to come out and put up some kind of resistance. And he got ruthlessly ratioed by literally everybody and their mom on Twitter. And so the environment is completely changed. They have no ability to mount a defense. And you can even see it in Google Trends right now. Like just 2 days ago, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, organic searches for the term constitutional crisis just ticked up to like 10 times the highest level they've ever been in the last 15 years of Google. It's absolutely incredible. So it's all this pearl clutching, all of this fake outrage, and it's not going to work because the numbers are phenomenal. Donald Trump, his approval rating's been up over the last week, 3 points. He's at 53%. Fewer people strongly disapprove of Donald Trump than they did in January of 2017. So everything they threw at this guy didn't work. And then people have also been, well, he's Teflon Don. We've thrown everything at him. It doesn't stick. So let's go after Elon Musk. But we polled on Elon Musk, and he has a 52% favorable rating, 31% very. So he's net +6, and Trump's net +8 right now. And so he's just as favorable as Trump is. And then we also said, do you approve or disapprove of Elon Musk being in charge of the Department of Government Efficiency, which is cutting government waste? And we get 55% approval. And then, how important is it to reduce waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government? And these numbers are all from just a few days ago. So these are people who are watching what is happening, watching this major hatchet fall on Washington. 86% say important, 66% vary, including 82% of Democrats who say important. So this is the new normal.
Wow.
And I guess we'll see what's going to happen with this debt ceiling. But my advice to Republicans, my advice to Congress is you're not just going to want to put your same kind of massive, like 3,000-page bill out there. You're going to get blasted in the face. And everybody's going to know that you were taking money from USAID, just like these press outlets. It is a new normal, and politicians are not ready for it.